Howdy everybody, this is a roaming prepper and thank you for joining me today. Once again, as I normally do on Saturdays, I kind of go through the corporate media, government releases, all public release stuff, no insider trading, no classified stuff, and just kind of get a summary of what's going on in the world. Because stuff going on overseas, as we learned during the Rona, will definitely affect us here. And we're seeing it in the grocery prices. We're seeing it in gas prices. So this kind of stuff is meant to help you understand how things interplay. So if you see certain things happening in certain parts of the world, it should hopefully lead you to start thinking, well, if this happens there, it's going to affect something here, and take action accordingly. Because I promise you 90% of the population, if not more, maybe 97%, will have no earthly clue what's going on until they're in line at a store in a panic. We've seen it time and time again, so this is nothing new. I'll be right back, and let's go. I'm going to go through a couple of these reports that happen concurrently, and some interesting information that I got from the State Department regarding their recommendations on go bags and stay bags. I'll be right back. Howdy everybody, and welcome back to the Roaming Prepper. I'm your host Pete, and thank you for joining me today. As always, I normally try to premiere these kind of videos. I leave the chats open, so if the worst case, I can't make my own premiere, which happens quite a bit. At least all of you can collaborate, discuss, and kind of, trade ideas and thoughts about the subject matter. If nothing else, you can make jokes in the chat too. That doesn't offend. Hopefully I will be in the chat, but if you have questions, comments, or something that you'd like me to address, and I'm not in the premiere chat, feel free to put it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new. I'd always appreciate that. We do appreciate thumbs up. Some people give me a thumbs down, that's fine. But either way, whatever you do, it does help. So, as I've done before, I'm going to start alphabetically by region. So we're starting in Africa. Africa is interesting because, hey, the minute I started talking, they started fighting right behind my chair, because that's how you do it, right? They're like children with paws. Anyway, I digress. Africa, interesting. So, Kenya and Saudi Arabia join hands to streamline migrant worker issues. So, immigration, poverty, lack of food, lack of affordable fuel, which is partly due to the war, but partly due to the decisions of Western governments, is making life difficult for poorer nations. So, Kenya and Saudi are trying to figure out how to allow workers to flow back and forth in some kind of coherent manner. The United Kingdom, I'm in the wrong place. There we go. South Africa, researchers break ground on a new tuberculosis vaccine research initiative. Researchers in the South African tuberculosis vaccine initiative, based in the University of Cape Town, have broken new ground in developing vaccine for the TB, tuberculosis. This is from All Africa News. Sudan has unilaterally decided to lower local fuel prices because they are a producing country. They are able to do that, and they're also somewhat socialistic when it comes to their resources. And Zimbabwe, judge president expressed concern at prevalence of robberies and murders, all sorts of cases. So this is abbreviated, so it's kind of, the language sounds weird, but what we're seeing is countries are trying to fight inflation with whatever tools they have. Different countries have different tools. Sudan, for instance, has unilaterally decided this is the price of oil or gasoline or diesel in the country, and that's that. But you're also going to see more prevalent violence. Zimbabwe, talking about robbery and murder. Many of us are aware that in Culiacan, Mexico, the Army and the Marine Corps literally in gun battles with cartels, because the cartels, and by the way, this cartel, the Jalisco New Generation cartel, is actually led by a former Army officer that we, the United States, helped train. Think about that for a second. He was supposed to be counter narcotics, and apparently he got screwed by the government, so he took over one of the cartels, and now he's declared war on everyone else. So again, and again, I'm jumping regions, but in Africa, you typically see these small and mid-level economies, and Africa tends to be the canary in the cave. Africa and parts around the Asia Pac, you're going to see those smaller countries starting to struggle. We saw it last year with the beginning of the financial issues in Malaysia. If you look back at my old videos, I talked about Malaysia, I talked about Croatia, we talked about South Africa, that they were having these issues early on. And sure enough, these are the kind of things that happen just before it hits the big countries, and it did. This was not me being some kind of psychic. This was me watching the financial patterns and saying, hey, this is what's going to happen. Kind of like a bizarre game of dominoes. Now, moving regions now to, oh, actually, no, more in Africa, sorry. Ghana. Ghana's inflation hits a record 54.1% as food costs surge. That's out of Bloomberg News. Ghana's inflation rate surged to more than expected in December, driven by steep increases in food, transport, and housing costs, all of which are interrelated. The fertilizers are made either from potash or natural gas, both of which, potash is being affected, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is being affected by the war, and natural gas is being affected by decisions in the governments to reduce the use of natural gas. They're causing food shortages by their stupidity, and it's hard for me to believe that they're oblivious. They're not aware of the cause and effect here. I don't bite that. In any case, also Kenya, conflicts in neighboring countries increase the trade of illicit firearms. That's from the standards. This is, and actually, if I look at most of these, Ethiopia's Tigrayan rebels start handing over their heavy weapons. They came to a peace agreement there, which is good. But you're going to start seeing a lot of this kind of criminal instability because things are getting expensive. People are getting pissed off and desperate. So again, these smaller countries in Africa, these mid-level countries, as far as their economy, are the ones who suffer the most when European and Western nations do dumb shit. And they're usually the first to start showing symptoms. You remember last year in South Africa, they were attacking entire warehouses. So again, I focused a lot of time on Africa, but they tend to be, precursors to what happens elsewhere. And we're seeing now the violence, the surging food costs. Okay, the average food cost, despite our complaining about eggs in the US and Canada, is around 10%. They're at 54%. Imagine if your grocery bill went up by a full 50%. So you spent $100, now would be $150. You spend $200, now it's $300. You see how quickly that can turn ugly. And right now, going to spend $200 in the grocery store is an average run for a lot of people. So $300 would be insane. Then you have to start choosing what you're going to eat or whether you're going to pay your electric and rent. Again, precursors. This is the kind of stuff we want to watch for. Bentley thinks he's a ninja back there. You heard that nice deep bark of his. Okay, moving on to East Asia Pacific. Taliban and China agree to an Afghanistan oil extraction deal. That's from BBC. It would be the first major energy extraction agreement with a foreign firm since the Taliban took control of Afghanistan in 2021. The 25-year deal underscores China's economic involvement in the region. The Taliban are struggling with ISIS and Al-Qaeda to keep control. How long do you think it'll be before China does what the British, the Russians and the Americans have all done, and they wind up having a pile of troops in Afghanistan to protect their interests, and they get dragged into a 10, 15, 20-year debacle like we did. Interesting. That was from BBC if you guys want to look it up. While we're on the topic of China, Australia and Papua New Guinea are now pushing a new defense tie. The Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will urge the Papua New Guinea leadership to deepen defense ties and address to Parliament on Thursday, highlighting Australian investment as China also seeks to get themselves into this resource-rich Pacific nation. There comes the positioning, the posturing, and for the record, Australia is a NATO member, so yeah, interesting, scary stuff actually. Also, East Asia Pacific. Chinese fret over elderly as WHO warns of a post-holiday Rona surge. People in China worried on Thursday about spreading the Pico 19, to aged relatives as they plan returns from their homes for holidays that the World Health Organization warns could inflame a raging outbreak. They just opened the country and now they're cratering again. So I don't know where that one's going to go. But China's making some moves while we're all looking at Ukraine and Russia. So keep an eye on that country. Moving to Europe now. France, stabbing attack in Paris's Gare du Nord train station leaves 6 wounded before suspect was shot by police. For the record, most French cops do have a sidearm. In any case, that was from CBS News. Again, you're going to start seeing these violent attacks. You also are going to see, because of the poverty being created by decisions made by Western governments, people are going to move to where they can get work and they can get food. So you're going to be introducing migrant communities to native communities, whatever they may be. And, you know, it's not a racist thing. It's just people are moving around. And there's going to be conflict between new cultures with the existing culture. And this is an example of that. Top Turkey, Russia, Syria diplomats to meet soon. They're trying to negotiate a withdrawal of Turkey from Syria, but Turkey is pissed off because Syria is not doing anything about the Kurdish rebels. So that remains to be seen. Also in Europe, Russian mercenaries battle Ukrainian resistance in the city of Soledar. So the Wagner Group, which is basically like Russian version of Blackwater, claims it has taken control of the eastern Ukrainian salt mining town, but there's still resistance in the city. The significance of the town I'm not familiar with. I don't know if it's strategically valuable, like some kind of railroad exchange or a big airport, but they've been fighting over it for quite a bit. United Kingdom, here's an interesting one, and this one's from the Coventry Telegraph. I believe that's from the UK. Counterterrorism police investigating after a package contaminated with uranium was found in Heathrow Airport. Again, from the Coventry Telegraph. Let me read the headline real quick, just so you guys can see it. Counterterrorism police are investigating after material contaminated with uranium was seized by Border Force officers at Heathrow. Reports suggest the package arrived on a T4 flight from Oman on December 29th. Does anybody remember the book Sum of All Fears from Tom Clancy? The movie too. The movie wasn't exactly like the book, but the gist was the same. A network of people, including both drug cartels and other smugglers, moving uranium and fissile material around the globe, just like this, until it wound up in Baltimore, and they pop a nuke in Baltimore. That's concerning. I hadn't seen that until I printed this today, so that's Anyway. Okay, so moving from Europe, hold on. Poland to send Kiev. This is Poland, Russia now. Poland to send Kiev a company of leopards, which is reference to the Leopard tank, and 6 other top developments from Euronews. Poland to send Kiev a company of Leopard tanks. Poland has decided to send Leopard tanks to Ukraine as part of an international coalition. The Polish president said on Wednesday, as Warsaw seeks to play a leading role in reaching a consensus to support Ukraine. Poland and Russia have a very ugly history with each other, very contentious one. So my concern is Poland would love to punch Russia in the eye, and Poland's a NATO member. How quickly can that go sideways? I did make a short video Friday, which would have been yesterday, because you guys should be seeing this the 14th of January of 23. So on the 13th in the morning, I did make a post regarding NATO Article 4 versus Article 5, just to give people some clarity. But again, interesting stuff going on in Europe. So let's move on to the next part of the world, which I'm confused in. There we go, Middle East. It's been one of those weeks, guys, sorry. Middle East, North Africa. Egypt foils plot to steal a 10-ton statue of Ramses II. From Al Jazeera, the suspects are accused of trying to steal the statue of Ramses. Where the hell were they going to go with a 10-ton statue? Especially in today's day and age. Maybe, 50 years ago, they didn't have cameras and satellites, not the way we do now. And 100 years ago, if they didn't see you do it, you'd just walk off with shit. But a 10-ton statue today, someone was going to see that. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know, weird stuff. So moving on, Jordan, the country of Jordan truckers strike exposes woes of impoverished South. That goes hand in hand with another report, and let me see if I find it here, of British workers pending a strike in, let's see if I can find it, pending a strike in February. So again, Jordan, the UK, we're starting to see those strikes, those outbursts moving into the larger countries. So yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting. The moving from Middle East, Iran, one more on Iran. Iran executions quash protests and push the dissent underground. Iran's hanging of protesters and the display of their lifeless bodies on cranes above the cities seems to have instilled enough fear of people to keep them off the street. So that's how Iran responded to all the protests we saw. They basically hung them or by their necks or by their feet from a crane and let them die. So that's pretty ugly. Yeah, so, for all the people who are like, I hate America, it's not fair, I'm oppressed. Nobody's hanging you from fucking cranes, y'all. Not that there's not problems here. Understand, there are problems. There's racial problems, there's class problems, there's a bunch of dumb shit. But by God, the government is not grabbing people and hanging you from a damn crane. In the city where your family and all your friends can see you hanging there while the birds peck at you. So I just, you read this stuff and then you watch people on TV here in the States going, oh, boo, I worked 8 hours at Starbucks, knuckleheads. And there went my light. That sucks. Let's see. Nope, it's dead. I killed my light. That's fine. I'm almost done here, guys, so I guess you don't get to see me in fancy light. Moving on to the Western Hemisphere, Lula government prepares for more anti-democratic protests. Notice how they're framing the people who think this guy is corrupt and that the election was corrupt by calling them anti-democratic. Sound familiar? Just saying. And by the way, for those of you who may be more on the left than on the right, understand something. When people are very binary and they tend to be stupid. So whether you're left or right or whatever, you're up or down, when you go, we're going to pass a law to beat that guy up or that guy up, well, if someone else takes power, that same law can be used to whack you on the head with it. People don't understand this. They keep wanting to, call each other anti-democratic or insurrectionists, or we're going to arrest you, or I'm going to take away your right to be on the internet or speak your mind. And then they forget that that same set of conditions can then be flipped around and used on them when they're no longer convenient. And Bentley's back, picking fights with Peppermint. He's going to get beat up. Peppermint beat him up earlier. So anyway, continuing, Western Hemisphere, Brazil. Also, Colombia VP says she was targeted with a roadside bomb. Again, those mid-sized economies are going to start showing those signs of instability. Political vacuum in Haiti deepens as senators' terms expire. And then in Peru, policemen burned to death amid anti-government unrest in Peru. So this was a very bit violent Saturday Sitrep. I mean, you know, I read some of these headlines individually, but now that I've compiled them, these things all happened in the last week. Yeah, it's Mexico City says extortion gang tried to kill a reporter. Well, that happens all the time down there. Peru anti-government protests spread with clashes in Cusco. Lots of issues, guys. A lot of instability in those mid-level economies, and they're the ones, I'm telling you, they're the harbingers. They are the ones who suffer stuff, and then it tends to roll its way slowly up the food chain to the larger countries. So again, UK, and I can't find the headline specifically right now, so I apologize for that. I did mark it, and I can't find it. But, yeah, they're saying there will be 10,000 workers will go on strike in England if they can't sort something out with worker conditions and some other such things. New York City just barely averted a nurses' strike in their country because, oh, here it is. UK trade union says 100,000, sorry, not 10,000, 100,000 public sector workers will strike on the 1st of February. This is from Reuters. British Public and Commercial Services Union said on Wednesday 100,000 of its members across 124 government departments would strike on the 1st in a dispute over pays, pension, and job security. And you can't raise pay enough if you don't control inflation. They have to go hand in hand. People keep saying raise the minimum wage, and maybe we do, yes, but why the hell did bread go from 50 cents a loaf 20 years ago to $3 a loaf now? That's an insane increase percentage-wise. So now we have to increase people's salary. You're just making the dollars less useful. But anyway, I digress. You guys get what I'm saying. But anyway, that's kind of the wrap up for the Saturday Sitrep, and a rather interesting one to start the year with. This was there was some stuff going on here. So also, and I'm going to cover this in another video so we don't go too long here, the State Department had 2 recommendations. We often talk about a go bag. Some of us call it a go bag, a bug out bag, a get home bag. They're all different variations of a preparedness bag of some type. Obviously, a get home bag is for enough amenities for you to get to your house. A go bag actually, a bug out bag is you have to leave your home and you don't know where you're going, so you're taking your life with you in a backpack. A go bag for me is actually my family members stranded downtown. I'm going to put on my go bag and my offensive defensive attire, and I'm going to go retrieve that person and bring them home. To me, a go bag is actually a more combative rig in my nomenclature, but a lot of the people refer to the go bag as I got to get out of here, right? But they talk about a go bag and a stay bag, which I thought was interesting. I've heard of the go bag, I've heard of the bug out bag, but not a stay bag. But this is in reference to people traveling. I guess I kind of incorporate the 2 into 1 when I'm on the road. And my truck is really a big go bag because I have the capacity to put all the crap that I have hidden in my truck into my bag and go on foot. But I got to dig a little more into this because I've never seen this breakdown before. I thought it was interesting. In any case, I'll do a separate video on that one, but something to think about if you guys are going to be on the road. Do you have your go bags up to date? Are they suitable for what you plan to do? Your kind of travel, the weather conditions, the environment, whether it's urban, rural, suburban. Now is a great time in light of all this instability to go take some time and go and look at what you have loaded in your truck, in your go bags, your get home bags, whatever you want to call it. So guys, just to remember, that's your homework. My homework this weekend will be to inventory stuff in the freezer because I've lost track of what the hell's in there. That being said, I will leave you all with this. God bless, Godspeed, be safe, and watch for this oddball news because these are symptoms of something bigger. We just don't know which way it's going to go yet. We think we know. Hopefully it doesn't go there, but we got to keep an eye on this stuff. Anyway, you guys take care of yourselves. I'll see you on the next video, and thanks for joining me this morning. Take care.